Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men for Laredo. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Five. We're back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with Derek Barry, and we're talking about the effects of interference with visitation and what a father or mother or parent that's not non-custodial goes through. It happens a lot, right, Derek?
Unfortunately, it's extremely common, especially nowadays, Paul. It really is. It becomes the norm. And I myself and the organization, our grassroots organization, we work with a lot of parents going through the same thing, mothers and fathers. Now, percentage is higher statistically with fathers, but it does happen to mothers as well.
Yeah, and I've been around the organization because I've gone through the same thing, but and I've decided that we need to help everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay. I see a lot of fathers that are real gung-ho, and as soon as they get thrown a bone, they just lay off, or the mom just lays off. But this is a long battle because there's a lot of, it's not personal in me, it's for the benefit of the child.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's a lot of suffering going on, and you can see it, and it's sad. Okay, I see it here with the martial arts school. I get parents that are divorced all of a sudden, and there's a lot of conflicts to the point that now in the last 8 years, I've changed the way I've done things. But let's talk about you. What occurred that made you say, you know what, I have to step up and fight against this?
Well, I couldn't agree more with your last statement. It's chess, not checkers. You're in it for the long haul. And you're absolutely right. A lot of folks get in, it's exhausting, and they either give up or reach a point where they have to stop. And you couldn't be more right. You hit the nail on the head. It's probably too late for me, in my case, and me personally, and those parents involved today. But I think about my daughters and my son, and them going through this process, and them having to go through the state and the court system the way it is. And there's no greater cause than for our children. So this isn't a personal thing. This isn't just for me or for you or for moms and dads right now. It's for our kids. You're right.
It's absolutely, you know, it has to change.
Absolutely.
Because you see the double standards.
Yep.
And you see the double standards not only within the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a sister, she's going with the whole thing, it changes.
It does.
And on one side, it's got, you know, so it changes dramatically the way the perception is done. I see schools changing as well.
Oh, yes.
And you start seeing, all of a sudden, you start seeing tests be done on Saturdays. Well, guess what? The Saturday when the fathers have it,
Yeah.
not when the mothers have it. Then you start realizing, are they connected? Are they doing it on purpose? And you realize then the majority of educators out there are divorced as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens, that prejudice occurs, you know? So we have to stop that, because this is something that affects both men and women.
Absolutely.
But not only the adults, more so the kids, and those are the ones that are basically getting hurt.
Yeah, the focus should be on our children. You know, I have 3 little ones, and they are my motivation for everything that I do within the organization and for today. Not for myself, but for them, for their future. You know, I want to see them when they have children and I have grandkids, you know, not have to go through all this. So you couldn't be more right.
Let me ask you this.
Excuse me.
What did you experience when you said, you know what, I have to fight, this is enough's enough? What happened? What was that key?
The aha moment. So my fight began early on, off and on since 2013. And everybody has a personal struggle. Everybody has a personal fight. You exhaust all resources, all finances, your loans, your tax, both physically, emotionally, financially, and you reach a point to where you have that aha moment and you know, come to Jesus kind of thing and say, this has to change, it has to stop, and you come to the realization that it's not right. It's not right for anybody to experience this. There's an injustice there that needs to be resolved. It doesn't discriminate. It's men, women, all walks of life, from entry-level positions to blue-collar, white-collar. It touches everybody. We have doctors, lawyers, law enforcement, educators, professors, all being impacted by this system. And that should tell you something. That should be a red flag when this doesn't discriminate. The only thing ultimately that this system's looking at is money and not the children. And I think that's when I came to the realization that there has to be a system of checks and balances. There has to be an accountability level for everybody to make sure everybody has equality and that we're on an equal playing field.
Yeah, I understand, and it's right when you say that, you know, because I've seen people that this has affected it. They say, "Oh, you forget about it." And it's kind of like you see fathers in the older,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
They say, "You know, I couldn't do anything about it." Kind of shut themselves off.
Right. When is it wrong to fight for our children, right?
You can't. You have to continue.
It's never wrong to fight for your children.
And you see that. You see them. Oh, you'll adjust to it. No, you can't adjust to it.
Right.
You know, and it's unfortunate. But I think that the way the system is now, it leads to the alienation.
It does.
And it supervises it. And I say this, and I say it openly. And parent alienation starts in the black robe that sits behind a bench with a gavel.
Absolutely.
And that's where the parent alienation starts, because that's when parent alienation is giving the fertilizer for the seed that has just been planted. They're the ones that are giving the water, and they're giving them the fertilizer for it to grow strong. So whatever happens after that, if the one in the black robe does not acknowledge it, it's going to be...
It never amazes me. So you have a phenomenal analogy, right? But it doesn't seem to amaze me that it enables the opposing party, the other parent, right? That court order enables that other parent and now you may have a working relationship and co-parent successfully, and that's what we want, right? We want moms and dads to for the better of the children. That's the way it should be. And we hear a lot of good success stories too, just not enough. There's not enough of them. It's not the norm. So the norm now, unfortunately, is you create a winner-loser scenario, and you enable that other party with the court order. That judge, by doing the motion to enter and signing off on it, it empowers that other parent, and they feel controlled. They feel in charge, and I can do whatever I want. I'm untouchable. And that's not the case. You know, you have a loving father or mother that's a non-custodial parent and that wants to be an active part of their children's lives in every way, shape, or form. In some cases, begging to be part of that child's life. And it's used against them. This court order is used against them. And there's no recourse. And that's where this organization kind of kicks off. That's where my fight began. It's like, okay, we're equals. It took us to make this beautiful child. And we brought him into the world together. But now it's just about you, and I have to wait in the parking lot, right? I gotta wait in the wings, and I can only be an active role when you say it's okay. And that's not right. That's not the way it should be. If you have a loving, able parent that's wanting to be part of that child in every way, shape, or form, you know, take them to practice, pick them up from school, make dinners, take them to martial arts class, right? They want to do all that with them, but they're not being allowed to. And then when you enter the other aspect of it and you call law enforcement, you say, hey, today's my visitation, I'm just here to pick up the children, and you're told that it's a civil matter, that's where the frustration begins, right? Because a lot of parents have already exhausted the financial resources to go back to court and into litigation. Many parents don't have that recourse. They don't have that avenue.
And it is a state felony.
It is. It is a state jail felony to interfere with child custody. Penal Code Texas 2503. We pride ourselves on educating parents and law enforcement, lawyers, doctors, what have you. Anybody willing to come into the fold and accept the message open-minded and learn the process and understand the law, we encourage that. We help educate on that portion.
And you know, everybody has that aha moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get hit and you can't do anything about it. Why? Because number one, you respect the badge.
Sure.
And to me, I've seen a lot of good badges.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I've seen a great number of bad badges.
They do exist.
And when they come to fruition, when you show them, you know, I'm here to pick up my child, they're interfering with this, you never know who you're going to get.
Very true.
And if you get a bad badge, it can turn a situation to the wrong way. And
you're right.
I've had the experiences, and you're kind of just biting your tongue and just trying to calm yourself down because you do not want this to escalate. Because number one, you're not gonna beat the ride. You're gonna be taken downtown, whether you're right or wrong or what or not or how he takes it, or you know, we just had that incident the other day in Minneapolis. It just occurred, and you never know what's going to happen.
You're right.
So just comply. You just kind of like you bite your upper lip and you just kind of say, okay, we'll go deal with it later.
Right.
And they try to pass the blame, especially here in Webb County. I'll explain a little bit of Webb County. You call them up and they say, we're not going to prosecute them because the DA doesn't prosecute them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and, you know, I had a case that was ongoing. I get a call from, and I'm going to quote the badge, his name is Juan Villa, had badge 1195. And he says, we're dropping your case because the district attorney does not prosecute.
They don't want to take the case, right?
And I go, what do you mean doesn't prosecute? He doesn't prosecute him. So we're dropping it. Of course he prosecutes him. No, we don't. What do you do? And then when you find out when you talk to the district attorney and you talk to them over there, they tell you, yes, we do, but we need a paper trail for you to go forward.
It never came across my desk.
You know, and so if they're not doing incidents and offense reports and they're not going after it, well then how can they do that, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
So here in Laredo we have a fault. And in Laredo, the police basically in the last 5 years, because I asked for open records, they have never arrested somebody for interference with child custody. So they're actually, in my point of view, they're aiding and abetting felon. But they're all that way. So it's a subculture that we need to break and educate. Because I don't want to throw anybody in jail.
Sure.
It's the last thing that I want to do. But I guarantee you that if you did it the wrong way, you'll be sitting down behind bars.
Oh yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
So there's a double standard.
Oh yeah.
Amongst everything, and that needs to stop. You want equality? Let's start with equality. Let's start with parental equality.
Yep.
Let's start with everybody on the same level.
Yeah.
What happens to mom happens to dad. It has to be the same. A lot of people say, I want to go 50-50 because I don't want to pay child support. whatever. To me, I don't mind paying child support.
That's a misconception too.
Even if I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 50-50 doesn't mean that you're not paying child support.
You know, so, and you hear that and you go, this and this. No, it's not about child support. It's about being there. I'm always going to be supporting my child.
Absolutely.
That's just the way it is. In the group that you're in, the association that you're in, the Penal Code 25.7, interference with child.
2503, yes, sir.
Yeah, 2503. What are some of the issues that most parents come? Number one, visitation proof. What
Absolutely.
do they ask for?
So you touched on everything. Our conversation and what you just said, you touched on everything that we deal with. So first and foremost, for safety during visitation, we always recommend our parents record, have a third party neutral, not the new girlfriend or boyfriend, somebody that's not going to aggravate the situation, you know, maybe a parent or a loved one that's trusted by both parties. You're going to record for your safety and everybody else's. A dash cams are relatively inexpensive. You can probably get them to $30 to $50, and it's well worth the investment. You can put a dash cam in during your visitation. Make sure that you're following your orders to the T. So if your orders say to be at A location at this time, you need to be there at A location at this time. So otherwise, they don't become enforceable. You need to stick to the court orders as well. If you're playing by the rules, continue to play by the rules. It benefits you. It benefits you in the end. And we try to educate most parents because there's a lot of emotion involved. There's a lot of raw, just emotion and fire and energy, and they want to be vindicated. They want to be right, you know, and they are right. You are justified in being upset. Nobody's trying to take that away from any parent, but there's a process and a way. You have to think smart, and you have to be smart. You have to think on your toes, and that's what we bring with our group. So safety first for everybody, right? In case you run across somebody, let's say in law enforcement, and it's not always good and bad. I back the blue 100%. You know, friends and family. I couldn't say it enough. I know a lot of fine officers, and just with any organization, there's good and bad, right? At their job. But sometimes it's a matter of education. There's some officers in the majority that don't know. Most major municipalities have an SOP or standard operating procedure, right? SOP. That tells them different. That tells them that's a civil matter, but they never address the criminal aspect of it on the enforcement side, on the visitation. So they just know what they're taught. Well, hey, I've been an officer for 5-10 years and I've never heard of this. Well, what are you talking about? And that's where we come in. We educate our parents enough to be able to have a non-emotional conversation with that law enforcement officer and tell him or her exactly what this is. You know, we give them literature, we give them the paperwork, we have them print out a hard copy of their most current valid court orders, right? And a digital copy as well. You can have one on your phone. But it becomes a conversation. You know, take the emotion out of it. We don't need the emotion out there during visitation anyway, because the kids, a lot of times the kids are present and they're seeing this too. So be an adult, be the mature party, act accordingly. And videotape as you're going through this whole process too, and you will be the victor. You look like the winner as well. If the other opposing party, mom or dad's being irate and belligerent and you know causing a scene, you don't have to. You know, think smart. Think smart. Be the mature audience, and that's going to help you. That's going to help you later on down the road. So. A lot of it is an education piece with law enforcement. We've spoken to a lot of different agencies, local, state. Throughout the past few years, throughout the past 2 years, we've gotten the opportunity to talk with a lot of police chiefs, and we went to several meetings actually, and got to talk to different agencies. Most of them are on board, and they're in agreement. You'd be surprised at how many law enforcement officers are going through the same thing, either a divorce or custody issue, and they want to know more. They want to be educated.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've seen it. I've seen it, and. I've seen friends that are law enforcement, their badges, and they said, geez, you know, I'm glad that you're bringing this up. I'm glad that this is coming because this is what we do, and I tell them not to, and they always bring this up. So I think the voice, let me put it to you this way. They started a small fire, and the wind picked it up, and I think it's fanning the flames, and now everybody's getting to it. You know, we have an excellent state representative, Richard Raymond, who's the one that passed it as a bill for a law. So it's starting from Webb County. And this weekend we're going to do a talk with some police, and the police chief, and some city manager, and the district attorney, and try to see if we can come into powwow, better understand this, because the ultimate goal is the best for the child.
Absolutely.
And, kids need to start growing up learning that both parents love them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Granted, and the worst thing I hate is when they say, he's a deadbeat father, he's a deadbeat mother.
Oh, that's so overused.
And you're like, really?
Yeah.
I know him, and he loves his kids.
It's two sides to every
you know what I'm
story.
saying?
Absolutely.
So,
There's always two sides.
What's going on? He does this, and then you talk to him, and she never lets me see the child. And that story is over and over and over and over. You hear it all over the place.
Yeah.
And it has to stop. There's a lot of parents that love their kids, and their kids need to understand that both parents exist. Now, parent alienation can get to the extremes, which is a total different entity. But right now is,
and there's degrees, there's levels.
Sure, there's levels.
PA.
There's those levels
there's
of
minor stuff where
goes.
they want to take jabs, and there's major cases where you go years without seeing your children, and it works on all different
on all different levels. And but when you interfere with a visitation,
yes,
you're adding to the flame of parent alienation.
Absolutely,
you're building it.
You're enabling it. You're if a judge has already deemed it necessary and reasonable and best interest of the child, and they've already signed off on that motion to enter, and mom and dad have, there's a reason why they're separating. They couldn't come to an agreement in the first place, and that relationship dissolved. But when that relationship dissolves, it doesn't mean that the parent-child relationship dissolves. That judge said, hey, I'm putting this on paper, you guys play by the rules, and let's do this for the kids. So you find out in real world experience that's not always the case. And people try to take advantage of the system because it enables them when they're the custodial parent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get child support, and I get to tell you when you can pick up and drop off. And that's not it at all. That is so far removed from the truth. It's unbelievable. You should be abiding by the court order. And part of that is where Texas 2503, interference with child custody, comes in. That non-custodial parent has access to that child. They're not a threat. They love that child, and they want to see them. They want to help raise them. They want to be part of that life. We touched on law enforcement a little bit, and I always speak to this. If anything, being in law enforcement or in legislation or in public eye in a political high visibility position, your hands are almost tied because you have a persona, you have an image that you have to project, and this is your place of employment. So you have some rules and guidelines you have to follow, right? So when it comes to agreements, a lot of these folks agree, but they're almost afraid to speak up because, I got a job, I got to keep, food in the fridge and a roof over my head. And can you imagine the blowback from one single solitary voice, whether in a law enforcement position or otherwise, or in family law, maybe a lawyer or whatnot, speaking out, speaking up. There's a fear factor there, and they are going to get some rebuttal. They're going to get some pushback just because of their position. So I'll always approach it with a sense of empathy, right?
Sure.
Because I understand that your hands are tied. You have some rules that you have to follow. And you may be in 100% agreement with me, but that's where the rebels come in, right? That's where you and I come in. That's where the voice comes in. Those of us that aren't afraid to speak up, those of us that are going to step to the challenge and promote what's right, regardless of the outcome and the consequences. And I think that's the beautiful thing of this. Like-minded organizations like Texas 2503, your show, for example, the Texas Fathers' Rights Movement,
Absolutely.
All the PA organizations, Wendy Perry, everybody that we've had the pleasure of partnering with, and all these amazing legislators that you mentioned as well. They're not afraid. They're doing the right thing.
They want change. Every time you talk to them, they want change. They're like, oh, wait a minute. If there's something wrong, we better fix it.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm seeing everybody. And some are afraid. They're kind of like, I don't know what to do. But it's okay. We want the ones that are not afraid to put their foot down and say, you know what, we have to move forward.
Right.
The rest would follow.
I agree. There's a lot of fire in parents when they first come to these organizations, and they're loud, they're vocal, they're boisterous, and they're rightfully so. But again, it's chess, not checkers. You take that energy, you focus that energy, and you play the long game. There's ways, there's processes to get things done, and we're going to do it the right way, and we're going to change it for the better for our kids, for our children. Take that same energy that you bring to the table when you first go through this case, when you first have your personal experience, and you want to feel vindicated and voice that, this is what happened to me, this is what's wrong, this is so wrong. Okay, take that energy, channel it, put it into this organization to start meeting with legislators, to start creating meetings, be professional in your setting, document. I can't stress that enough with our parents. It goes back to the video and safety. You want to document every transaction that you possibly can, whether you keep an active notebook, whether you keep a video log, or all of the above, receipts, everything that you do for your child and for this movement, you document. Now, people say, well, the evidence isn't being heard in family court. And that may be true in some courts. There's a lot of corruption there too as well. And we're addressing that as well. We're working on legislation. We're working on boots on the ground. We're working on active elements, partnering with different organizations. We're in every aspect, and we got different people doing different things. And channel that energy is probably some of the best advice I can give to a parent fresh off that custody train. Take that fire, take that that same desire to want to be heard and channel it.
And another thing that you mentioned that's key is do not deviate from the decree.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to tell you why.
Yes, sir.
Because you have a lot of parents, a lot of sides, especially the custodial parent and non-custodial, that want to follow the decree, and the non-custodial said, oh, we can change it here, we'll change it here, you can do this, and all of a sudden, when it needs to, they say, wait a minute, this is the way it is. So you already found yourself in the conundrum that you're puzzled.
Right.
And you don't want to get into that little riddle that they play. Follow the decree.
That legal document, that legal binding document supersedes anything. Now, it does stay in there if mom or dad agree to something other than what's on the piece of paper.
Write it on a paper and put it in there. From this date to this date, this is going to change. Have it, both sign it, notarize it, and document it. If they don't want to do that, forget about it.
And there's different ways to go about it. Before you go, you don't necessarily have to go through the state. And I think a lot of people are afraid and uneducated on the process. And I got to pay child support. You can do a Rule 11, which is a contract agreement with mom and dad, and they can sit down before ever having to go to the state. Now, it can be broken at any point in time, and we don't give legal advice, but we speak from experience, right? And we know the process and the different avenues that are out there. You could go mutual party and go to mediation and come to an agreement and sit down at a table, across the table, and say, no, I don't really want that, and give and take a little bit, right? And a lot of parents do that successfully, and we promote that. That's great, right? Anything to keep out of litigation, and nothing family law hates more than losing money. So they want to perpetuate that and generate that fire and that churn to keep that money flow going. And think of all that money that all these parents are spending that could go straight to the child instead of the court system. So it really is in the child's best interest for mom and dad, custodial and non-custodial parents, to work together. It's going to save them a lot of heartache, a lot of headache, and a lot of money. Family law hates people that say that. They don't exactly agree with that plan. But at one point in time, y'all got along. Y'all said "I do," and you created a beautiful child. So there's no reason why you can't continue some sort of partnership in the end, right? But easier said than done. But
you're absolutely correct. And I'm glad for the advice that you gave, especially for the listeners out there that are going through this. Stay strong. If you need some help, there's people out there that we can help you. If you're here in Laredo, that there's something going on with you're falling apart, because a lot of people go down the rabbit hole and they
plenty of resources to talk.
Give us a call. What's your number where you all can call it?
So Texas Fathers' Rights is a great organization. We have Wendy Perry for parental alienation, and then Texas 2503 interference with child custody. We are on every aspect of social media. You can inbox us at any time. We partner with a lot of different organizations as well. You guys can reach out to us via that aspect through inbox or email. We're on there. It's on our Facebook page. Is huge. We have both a private and public page. So if you don't feel comfortable airing your grievance or talking about something, you can go offline too and just message us independently. But you can find us we're on Twitter. Instagram, Facebook is our big one. We have an active YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Yes, thank you. We have a YouTube channel, and we are statewide. We are a statewide organization. Home base is San Antonio, Bexar County, but we go everywhere. We've been to Austin. We've been to Houston. We got plans to go up to Dallas. We have admins and moderators in every corner of the state, even the Panhandle. We got a great team out in Lubbock and Amarillo. We have some ladies that run help an extension of our organization in Galveston and Houston as well. So we are organized, and we, no matter where you're at, there is a resource to help you in your local area. So don't think you're the only one alone going through this. You're not by any means. You're not alone. Don't do anything silly or rash. Talk to somebody. If you can't talk to somebody in your immediate circle, then reach out, and we'll provide the right resources for you as well.
Well, I want to thank you, Derek,
Thank
for
you.
the work that you all are doing.
Thank you.
And let's move forward. That's all. All we can do is pray for the best.
Yes, sir.
And do it for our kids.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Till next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.